All right, all right, all right. Can I can I tell you something? I've almost been afraid to say this out loud because it makes me sound I don't know. It makes me sound selfish. Period. But okay, so I hardly ever drink, okay? And no, I don't smoke weed either, and I'm really funny about taking medications, all the things. And it's not because those things make someone better than somebody else. It's not about morality. I don't think of any of it like that at all. But I did realize something on my walk yesterday, and I want to share this with you because for years when somebody would ask me why I don't hardly drink anymore or anything else, I'd just say, "Well, I just like being in control." But on my walk, I was like, "You know what? I don't think that's actually true. I don't think it's that I want control. I think I just like raw dogging life, if we're honest." No, but like actually, I I don't want anything standing between me and my human experience. Does that make sense? I don't want anything buffering in between. I don't want a buzz in between that's going to keep me from fully feeling my human experience. And since realizing that, I am now seeing it everywhere, including being on this walk the other day and realizing that, gosh, even the fact that I don't like to have a buzz also relates to the fact that I want to raw dog this life. But I mean, so let's take something simple here. Let's say gluten, okay? Because I don't eat gluten. Somebody will be like, "Oh, just have a bite. It'll be worth it." No, having a bite of gluten is not necessarily going to ruin my life, but I do already know what's going to happen. It's going to be 4 days of hell. My body is not going to feel like home. I'm going to be bloated. My skin's going to turn weird. I'll be exhausted. I'll have brain fog. Everything just feels off. And so when I say no, that doesn't come off as like feeling restrictive to myself. It feels respectful. Like I'm just protecting the relationship that I have with my own body, right? That's not selfish, which got me wondering, what else am I protecting, quote, protecting, that I've also been calling selfish? So a few days ago, I was at the pool with some friends, had a couple drinks, couple seltzers, nothing serious. But it's summer, it's conversation, it's life. And afterwards, I noticed something. I had shared stories that normally feel, I don't know what the word would be, sacred. Yeah. Yeah. I shared some stories that are sacred. Stories about people I love, stories about loss. I would say there were like stories that usually stay with me for a while before they ever become words. And so, yeah, they're just stories that I've never told yet. And afterward, I remember thinking, huh. And it wasn't guilt, it's not regret. And they're my people, so it's a safe space. They're just stories that I haven't given myself a chance to be with me first, to give it words on my own first, for my own like understanding. Yeah, that's what it is. I think sometimes before something becomes ours to share, it deserves to first need to become ours to understand. Yeah. And I realized I'm not protective of my stories. That's not it. I'm protective of my relationship with my stories because they're part of my relationship with myself, what I'm processing within, what I'm growing and evolving in. And oddly enough, do you ever have like one of those words that just keeps coming up in your week or in your season? So all week, the word interference just kept coming up. I was like, why does that word just keep coming up? It was kind of just following me around all week. Interference. Because in talking about life and talking about death and being with friends you love, I don't mind discomfort. I don't mind real conversations. I don't mind any of that as much as I mind the interference, which is anything that quietly gets between me and fully experiencing the life I'm already living. So whether it's having a seltzer, having a light buzz while we're celebrating life and having fun, I'm like, I don't want to share. Here's my selfish part. I don't want to share this joy with a buzz. I want all of it. All of it. Selfishly, I want all of that to be mine. I want to feel every bit. So I guess in saying that, I mean, like, interference isn't always bad. Sometimes it is alcohol. Sometimes it's just doom scrolling or just having constant noise in the background. Sometimes interference is just staying busy, never hearing ourselves think. I mean, how many times have we said that? Like, I'm feeling that on my whole body right now. I haven't even had time to think. But sometimes the interference is the good things, you know? It's filling in silence with music or a book or a podcast, you know? It could be good things. It's not because those things are wrong, but because if I never leave room to hear myself, then eventually I stop knowing what my own life sounds like. Does that make sense? Like, do you remember being a kid? Well, I guess not everybody here is as old as I am. But if you're as old as me, you remember a time when we didn't have phones and these screens. We would just lay on our bed and stare at the freaking ceiling. That's it. Or just watching rain hit the window, looking out the car window on a long drive. No phone, no conversation, no constant input. Just you. Just your thoughts. And then, I don't know, somewhere along the way, technology came along. I think we forgot how to do that. And now it's like the second life gets quiet or awkward, we reach for something. Even if you're just in line at the store, it's whipping out that phone, opening up social media. Not because silence is bad, but because we've forgotten that silence might actually let you just finish, I don't know, finish something you've been thinking about or finish an emotion you're feeling. Gosh, think about that for a moment. Maybe every emotion is just trying to finish itself. And it doesn't have to be big emotions, but it could be. If we allow ourselves to move through, let's say, over the next 6 months, if we let it seep through the cracks on maybe something you're mentally trying to process. I'm not saying that it has to be, you've got to be crying in the grocery store while you're waiting to pay for your bread. Maybe you're just trying to think things through or trying to make sense of it or connect dots or just wonder about it. But if we let that seep into our silences or on our car ride or putting our phone down for our last hour of the day so we can just lay in bed and stare at a wall or a ceiling or sit on the sofa and stare out the window and let those emotions finish, let those mental thoughts evolve. Joy is the same way. What are you celebrating? What are you moving through? What are you growing through? What are you excited about? Letting that joy, letting that excitement finish. Let it go through all of those phases. Let it be felt everywhere in your body and let it ripple effect into all the other things that it connects to. And what are you hesitant on? What are the fears you have? What are the what ifs that you're thinking about? Let those finish. Let them run their course until those fears and hesitations are no longer there because you let it run its course, right? Because if we're filling it with all these other things, even if they're good things, if we're filling it with a buzz, or we're filling it with a great podcast, or filling all these spaces in, maybe we're YouTubing advice on something, then every time we interrupt it, we're asking life to pause before it's even finished speaking, before it's even finished wondering. Let me share a little story with you. So, my sister, when she died, gosh, people just loved me so well in that time. I am so blessed. I mean, they just really showed up. Friends, family, people I hadn't even heard from in years. The amount of love that surrounded me, I'll never forget that. But there was something else that happened in this time period also. As soon as she passed, I mean, people knew the amount of losses I had just recently gone through, heaviness, and now this. Immediately, people were like, hey, if you want to meet up for drinks, I'm in, I'm here for you. I had prescription pills being offered to me. And not because they were careless, quite the opposite. It's because they loved me. They wanted so badly to take this pain away from me. I mean, I remember being offered these invitations, or the drink or the pill, and I was just like, no, 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 no. And it's not because I wanted to suffer. It's not because I wanted to feel this pain necessarily. Honestly, I think it's because I didn't want to miss what the pain was actually encapsulating, maybe is the word, what the pain was carrying with it. And I don't know that I could quite put the words on it then, but it didn't take long for me to realize what I actually felt and what I actually was meaning in that. And that is like, if I numb the pain, I'll also be numbing the love. You've probably have heard that quote before, that grief is love that has nowhere to go. I knew the depth of my grief was a result of the depth of my love. I do not want to miss 1 ounce of the love I have for my sister. If grief is the price of loving someone that deeply, then maybe grief isn't something life is doing to me. Maybe it's something that love is doing through me. Ooh. Ooh. Well, I'm feeling that. That's heavy. But like in a beautiful way. Honestly, in just saying that, like I feel it in my stomach. I don't know that I even fully understand that yet. I'm still processing. I just know that in that time period, I wasn't willing to hand that experience over to something else. Again, not because I wanted more pain, but because I wanted all the love. Selfish AF. And when I realized this, I think that's actually when I realized something even bigger. These last 2 years since losing my sister, let's actually take this back to the 2 years prior of going through so many losses. I thought death was teaching me about death, but it wasn't. And I didn't realize that until then losing my sister. Death was teaching me how to live. Live. Death was my teacher on how to live, which is what's brought us to today. Because in order to fully feel, to fully raw dog this life, I think I had to fully allow myself to fully feel the death. Not death as in the event of death, death as in the feeling, the absence, oof, that ache, that silence at the dinner table, that empty chair, that birthday, whew, that birthday that still comes even though they don't. If I protect myself from all of that, I'd also be protecting myself from the love that created that. Oof. I don't want that. I don't want less of that love just because it comes with more grief. Feel to heal, they say, right? You've heard that before? That's my selfishness. I don't want to share that with doom scrolling, with noise in the background, or anything that takes in that space. Like, I'm not going to drink my evenings away simply because I don't want to sit in that silence or that space and all that I'm processing. Maybe healing isn't something we necessarily achieve. Maybe it's what emotions naturally do when we stop interfering with them, distracting them. Because let's take this out of grief for a moment, because this is actually a really uncomfortable realization I had. What if we're interrupting joy? Certainly we would love for our lives to be filled and our bodies to be filled with joy. Look at all that you've accomplished. Look at all that you're grateful for. Look at the celebrations in your life. How much of that joy, how much of those celebrations have you given the moment it deserves to just sit in the joy, sit in that celebration uninterrupted, sit in that accomplishment, letting that feeling run its course, let it ripple effect into all the things it connects with. Let that gratitude be felt in every ripple. How many, and talking about how I maybe shared stories too soon for me, but how many accomplishments have you immediately celebrated with something? So maybe it was a text thread or on social media, and then you're bouncing back and forth and you're reading responses or you're popping bottles, where it didn't get to be sacred with you first, letting yourself feel them first, all the way. All the way. How many beautiful moments have we shared before they were fully ours? Meaning, did we share them before our bodies could fully absorb and embody its greatness? Heck, I even think about the sunsets or sunrise. How many sunsets have you photographed or videoed instead of just standing there long enough to absorb every ounce of it? Raw dog that sunrise, raw dog that sunset, uninterrupted, no interferences, and just letting that sun change you. Actually, what if we've accidentally been splitting our human experience with everything around us? I keep thinking about the buzz part of it, the drinking part of it. And so before this turns into where you think this is about the don't ever drink, please don't hear that. That's not what I'm saying at all. I'm just talking about interference. Whatever that is for you. Because your interference may not look anything like what mine is for me. Maybe yours is busyness. Maybe it's people pleasing. It's what's put on the outside. Productivity, needing someone else's opinion before just trusting your own. Maybe it's filling every quiet moment because stillness feels awkward, cold. I'm not asking you to remove what helps you. I'm asking what's helping and what's hiding. There's a difference. Because one supports your relationship with yourself, and the other slowly replacing that relationship. And so, yeah, coming back to this word selfish, that word's changing for me. I don't think selfish is the word that we were raised to believe. I think it's just the word that we were given for something that's much more sacred. So yeah, I think there's a misinterpretation, much like that golden rule thing that we talked about in the last episode. Protecting my relationship with my body, or my relationship with my human experience here and how I want to live it on my terms, protecting that's not selfish. It's just like the whole gluten thing. It's not selfish. Protecting my peace isn't selfish. Protecting my ability to hear my own thoughts or process the way protect the way that I process my grief. That's not selfish. I've got one chance to feel this human experience. I've got one chance to feel what it's like to be Jen. I've got one. That's the one relationship I need to protect. And I'll spend every second of my life inside of this human experience, inside of this one chance. That's not selfish. That's not selfish in the word that's sacred, right? Is it possible that selfish is actually a very close relative to the word sacred? Or maybe selfish is the adolescence version of the word that eventually gains the experience and wisdom to become sacred. Ooh. Gosh, if you knew how much of this recording is me just standing here or pacing or sitting and just processing and thinking, you'd be here for an hour and a half, 2 hours. That's how much silence I have got to edit out of these episodes. Actually, this makes me think of a conversation that I had with my husband just last week. We were talking about career stuff, success, and we're talking about, ideas of what's next for him. And somewhere in the middle of that conversation, the word selfish actually came out of my mouth. And not as an insult, it was as advice. I shocked myself. I was like, I wonder if your next success begins when you start getting selfish about what you want. Yeah. And the second I said that, I was wanting to take it back because it sounded weird coming out, because who says that, right? Who tells someone you should be more selfish? But then the more I sat with it, the more I realized I didn't mean selfish in the way that I was taught. I meant stop abandoning yourself. Stop outsourcing your life. Stop making everyone else's expectations louder than your own. Because if we lose our relationship with ourselves, whose life are we living anymore? We came into this life to live this body's experience. And you came into this life to live your body's experience. I can't live your body. I can't live your human experience here. I'm not inside of your body. And you can't live mine. So if you lose that relationship with your human experience, then whose body and whose human experience are you living? Are you just a ghost walking around in that body, going through the mundane things in this compliant culture and going to work, paying the bills, responding to your messages? Or are you actually in your body, in relationship with your body, in relationship with your human experience, and not living in self-abandonment? Because it's real easy to be to abandon ship, jump out, let a ghost walk around in that body while you are attached to other bodies and all the things that everyone else needs you to do, right? But let's talk about that self-abandonment for a minute, because I wonder how much of what we call self-sabotage really is just, actually, it's gotta be. That's gotta be self-abandonment, right? Like we skip the workouts for a week while at the same time we're saying we want to be stronger. Or stop by at Dairy Queen while at the same time we're saying we want to feel healthier. Or how we just keep saying yes while wondering why we're so freaking exhausted. We just keep giving ourselves away. And then wondering why we feel lost and why we don't even recognize ourselves anymore. I'm not saying this in judgment. I say it because I've done every single one of these things. It is my lived experience. Sometimes I think the real question isn't like, why do I keep sabotaging myself? I think the real question is, what relationship am I choosing over the one with myself? Because we've all heard that quote before of time spent in one place is time away from another, right? Because every yes is a no to something else. Gosh, living this life, what a gift, what an opportunity. I actually recently saw a post. Let me think of what it said. It was something like it was an ask of, there's got to be something that's the opposite of suicide, where you like radically and abruptly decide to finally start living. Shoot, that totally took me right back to my parents' front porch, right after my sister died. I actually shared this on one of the first few episodes, maybe episode 2. But I just remember sitting there, and I was thinking at the time, I was like, gosh, what if I'm the next one to die? And then boom, this whisper just come roaring in. And I said, what if you're the next one to live? Honestly, I think that question is still being asked to me on a regular basis. That's actually probably why, now I think of it, majority of these episodes are really they really are helping us remove and just kind of pluck those things that stand between us and actually living. We're removing the numbness, aren't we? We're removing the tensions. We're removing the obstacles and the problems too, or those mental loops that we stay in, or those false beliefs. Gosh, yeah, just in my mind, I'm like one by one just thinking of each of the episodes. I'm like, yeah, that's what we're doing. We're removing that wall between us and actually living, which I guess in a sense is ourselves. Like when they say you got to get out of your own way, those false beliefs that are in our mind that stand between us and actually living, or those hurts, those wrongdoings that people have done to us, any of that. Gosh, you know what? Maybe that's what all this has been, at least on my own journey. It's not me trying to become a different person. Hang with me on this because I'm having another aha moment. It's not me trying to become more, more disciplined or more healthy, more spiritual, more successful. I think it's the opposite. I think it's more of like this return. It's a return to self, where it's kind of chipping or chiseling away, removing the things of life that are just like these like silent things, the things that just quietly stand between me and everything that has to do with feeling fully alive. I don't want to share my human experience with anything that's in the way, any of those interferences. I want to feel the warmth, the heartbreak, the excitement. I want to feel the uncertainty. I want to feel that awkwardness. I want to feel the laughter that makes your stomach hurt. I want the grief that drops me to my knees. I want those quiet mornings. I want these deep conversations. But actually, you know what? I want ordinary Tuesday afternoons also. I do. Ordinary Tuesday afternoon. You know, someday we're going to wish we had those back. I want to raw dog this life. I want skin to skin contact with my human experience. Oh, you know how good that just felt? I think that's what I've been calling selfish. I want nothing between me and my life. I want skin to skin contact with my human experience. This is not about asking anyone to stop drinking or stop scrolling or stop celebrating, having a good time. It's definitely not about stopping taking your medication that your doctor prescribed you. That's not this conversation. But I am wondering, maybe that's what I've been seeking in all these episodes. Like, let me find an interference. Let me find it in there and let's open it up and pluck it the fuck out. Especially those silent ones. It's almost like life is just sitting there behind that interference, behind that distraction. Life is just sitting there, like just waiting for us to tap in. Gosh, I'm just standing here in my kitchen now, and I was just thinking, maybe that's the most loving thing we could do is to protect the relationship we have with being alive. Ugh. That just feels like it is just hugging my heart right now. Protecting the relationship we have with being alive. That's where I want to be so selfish. Like, no, I want to be alive. I want to feel like I'm alive. I want to feel every bit of it. I don't think we came into this life to avoid feelings. I don't think we did. We're human. Humans have emotions. I think we're here to become have an intimate relationship. That felt funny to say because I just said about the skin to skin contact with life. But I think we are supposed to be leaned in and be that close, and for that relationship with our life to be that kindred, that connected. I think we all came here to be connected, to being alive, to being in the body, which makes me wonder why we avoid it. We avoid it with busyness. We avoid it with sound or another playlist or another podcast or just texting, advice outside of us, another course. I think we came to feel, my friend. Maybe these connections and all of these episodes that are helping us discover ourselves, be reconnected with ourselves, kind of breaking down that wall between ourselves and feeling fully alive, and letting that wall get thinner and thinner. Let that veil get thinner and thinner so that we can just feel alive. Feel what the hell we came here to feel, right? Yeah. Maybe that's why this podcast is growing. Maybe that's why this village is growing. Maybe that's why our connection, the growth that we're going through together, is growing, is connecting more. We're all just walking each other home.